Today is an awesome story. It's a story of the lost leads. What's up, FlowChat fam? Chris here, CEO and co-founder of FlowChat, and we're talking to real entrepreneurs that are on the front lines getting real results for real people. And today we've brought a really special member, and there's a funny story about lost leads. I know you all will relate. Have we all not just forgotten some of our leads? Some of the people slip through the cracks. We know that it's hurting us. It's hurting the business. There's lost revenue. This is the topic that we're covering today. And Nick has an excellent story for us. Hey, what's going on, Nick?
Yes, let's go. I'm so pumped. Thanks for having me.
Awesome to be here, man. You always light up the room. So, hey, we're going to get into some of Nick's background, who he is, what he does, and that's coming up. Stick with us. But for now, I always like to jump right into what the promise is, so we don't hook people, make them wait. What's the story of lost leads, man? Bring us behind the scenes. What's going on?
Story of lost leads. Oh my gosh. This was when I launched my first real high ticket program. I invested in a coach and, it's of course selling through the DM. So had my spreadsheet, my lead tracker, everything set up. It's like, all right, if I can message these 300 people, I'm going to get the results that I want. I ended up signing 8 clients.
Nice.
Which was great. I'm not going to discount that. Recently, I went back right before I met y'all, and I found that she just popped up on the drive somewhere. I was typing up something, looked through. I realized how many people slipped through the cracks. My goal for that launch, I like lofty goals, was 100K. I made 8,600. I sent out 300 initial messages, didn't follow up at all.
Just one message.
They were just one message. The 8 people that I did, I followed up with. The 8 people that I did, they responded on the 3rd message, which is crazy because, we set up the pipelines for 48 and 72-hour follow-up. They all responded on the 3rd message, chatted, booked a call, closed on the call, boom.
Well, okay, you're saying that when you sent the 3rd message, they replied. Those are the ones that booked, and you actually got business. So if you're not sending at least 2 or 3 messages, there's majority of your revenue that you're missing out on.
100%. And it was, and I didn't follow up.
Is anyone else hearing this? Yes.
When I saw it, I literally, and that's the main thing that attracted me to FlowChat was that people aren't slipping through the cracks. Because in my coaching program, I'm like, nobody's going to fall through the cracks. But
not in my program. In my program, we're going to do everything right. We're going to be on top of it. We're going to kill the game.
Exactly.
Where did she come from? Oh, man, I realized I didn't.
Exactly,
Okay.
Which is easy to do when you already have the clients. But the whole goal of this is to get more clients. And people fall through the crack there. They're never going to sign up with.
Yeah. It's industry average, 7 to 13 touches. 7 to 13 touches. Pick an industry, it's going to be probably around somewhere to 7 to 13 touches where a majority of the people are closing. And like you're saying, is a really common thing. Because you have to listen to Sean and I all the freaking time. Yeah. The thing we hit hard on, and it's just because people, they don't understand the expectation or what is. Not everyone, but a lot of people. Oh, I sent a message. I sent a couple messages. That's not enough.
Exactly.
Now, are you married, Nick?
Exactly. I am.
You are. Do you go on 1 date? Do you go on 3? How many dates and relationship building before you get married? Not that every sale is marrying somebody, but still, it's not. It takes way more than what most people anticipate. And then does the sale close or does the relationship open and begin? I mean, not oh, we're married now. Okay, now we in it. Now it's time to deliver, and you got to keep showing up every day. Anyway, we'll stick on the sales side mostly for today, but that story is I know we were just talking about, I was like, everyone needs to hear this. It's so important.
It's good and bad. It's really disheartening to be wow, I left a lot of people on the table there. Yeah. But also now I understand the importance of having a system in place that manages the entire sales pipeline. Because I also remember talking to y'all. I was like, oh, my sales pipeline, well, no, I would just consider somebody in once they book a call. Yeah. And there was nothing before that point that is able to really track, because then those numbers, now it's if I want to get to this end result, then we need to find, X amount of hot leads prospecting.
So you're hitting on pipeline now. you're hitting on paying attention to the numbers. Let's hang here for a second. Go a little
Yeah.
deeper on that because before you sent one message and got some
Mhm.
result. Then you got a system in place where you started following up and sending three messages where you closed even more business. And now you're saying the third level, we actually got to pay attention to some of these numbers and we can actually start predicting how much revenue we're going to make or figure out what we want to do and reverse engineer it. So tell us a little bit more
Exactly.
about how numbers help you accomplish that.
Exactly. First off, I absolutely love numbers. You have to be tracking your numbers. If you're not tracking your numbers, you might as well just close up shop. Like it's a fact. And from this now, how I look at it is being like a sniper with the approach. Like I don't
Okay.
have to go out and shoot off like, 100 or 200 messages each day because now after looking at all the numbers, seeing how people move through, now I'm able to recognize exactly who those people are quicker, which cuts down the time on the front end. So I know if I'm going to be sending out 10 or 15 messages, I'm going to get replies. Somewhere along the line, those people are going to respond back,
Yeah.
which helps me get more clear on my client, my ideal client, ultimately making sure that I'm speaking directly to them through the enrollment process, make sure that my script is going exactly where to their mindset is. And then on the coaching side, fulfilling it, I know exactly what they're going to need and I can predict it. So that way, the next offer that comes out, I'm already planting that seed. So now
Perfect.
it's not just getting on a sale and then coaching them. It's more opportunities coming through. I actually have a vision right now of how I need to scale my business. Because then I realize if I want more revenue, then I bring on somebody that can set the appointments, that can do the prospecting, that can book the calls, and then eventually that's set up, remove myself out of having to do the sales to where just doing the fulfillment and now it's an actual business running, not dependent on just me.
A business is just a systematic way of delivering a product or a service. And so, all this being said, this is good. We'll start transitioning into more like who Nick is and what your superpower is. And but this first part, we've been hopefully encouraging and other entrepreneurs that hey, it's okay. You start somewhere, but the way that you grow is you start putting a system in place. You realize that it actually generates more revenue, and then you're starting to be able to see the numbers. Then you're able to start calling your shot and you're like, wow, this is so much better. This is a better environment. Now that it's better, we can scale it. If you scale chaos, it equals pain. If you scale a good system, it equals growth and happiness.
Yes.
uh,
Oh,
so I mean, this is the large transition that you recently have been making, and now you're able to start having the thoughts of like, now I could just have if somebody step into your old system versus now stepping into what you currently have, tell us about how it would have went and how it's going to go now.
it would have been just a complete dumpster fire where it would have been messaging people and all my time. Honestly, the way I think and the way I was trying to do it is setting up some sort of Google Sheets or something on,
Yeah.
another project management software, trying to get it to track everything and also make it easy because I also know the amount of time it takes to, go into a sheet. You see that. Now you have to type it in on your phone or click the hyperlink and then
Back and
go in.
forth, enter, enter, enter. Yeah.
And that ends up one that just completely drains your energy and any type
Yeah.
of flow that you can get in. And I've done it. And after like three people, I'm like, all right, I'll come back to it. To now, I love systems. I love SOPs and all those things, like keeping notes of what I'm doing. So that way, next week I have a call with the first interview I'm doing with the setter. I just remembered that actually. Somebody reached out, was like, hey, I like what you're doing. Do you have a setter? Which is also weird because nobody's ever reached out like that before. But I'm with it. But now I actually have something where I can go in, we're on that initial interview call, and I can walk them through exactly what they're going to be doing, the time that's expected to get those results, and have set KPIs and make it super clear for them. so that there's no misunderstanding. Because I
Yeah.
also know if you're on the other side of things and you have tasks, if it's not organized, if it's chaotic, there's no clear way that you can see yourself making money. And that's what I
Mm.
found that really stops people and really hurts any type of growth is that you don't have a clear end goal. That's like, oh, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get this result. It's usually if I do Y, I might get here.
Yeah.
Maybe do a little bit of X, might get here.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really powerful to walk through. Start with the end in mind, like have that result. And then when the result is set, it's having on paper or
Yes.
a digital whiteboard or
Yes.
a workflow or something. Just it's got to be visual. It's saying we're going to have this much activity, at this response rate, we'll have this many people, and then we'll be able to have this many calls. Out of these many calls, we'll have at this close rate, we'll have this many sales. It's like that is a clear plan. The numbers are set. We know who's doing what on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and roughly what the expected result or the KPI, the expected outcome is going to be.
Yes.
That is a clear plan that's like people can get behind. Okay, so it's really powerful. You're putting these systems in place ultimately for what? Who is Nick? What product and service do you offer, man?
I offer a product. My thing is all about sales calls. So sales call mastery from that call getting on your calendar to the close.
Yeah,
And I realized when I was starting out, following the script, there's certain things you need to do. But then when my skills really leveled up is when I started doing the inner work. So I
mm.
started doing NLP, got an NLP certification,
Oh,
started
nice,
doing
man.
breath work, and became a trauma informed breathwork facilitator. And it's that inner work and being able to guide your clients to a safe space where they can make a choice. Because ultimately, we can all make a choice when we feel confident in making that choice, whether it's a yes or a no.
Yeah,
I honestly don't care what they say. I just want them to make a decision. But then through that process, making sure that each part is true to them, that it's real to them, and that they know the solution is possible. Because a
yeah.
lot of times, when, especially in the coaching world, when we have clients coming to us, they're talking to their friends and family, but they don't get it and they're not believing in it.
And confusion or empty space usually is not filled with like the best information
No.
or even energy or whatever. So yeah, I like how the phrase you use is we're helping them make a decision. We bring them to a safe place to where they can think clear in order to make a decision. It might be a no. It
Yeah.
might be a yes, but it's like let's get there first. I think that's really really powerful. So good for you for leveling. Congrats on the NLP thing and doing the breath work just for fun. On let's hit NLP for a second. Let's hit breath work. What's
Yeah.
one thing that you learned in NLP that translated and helped you the most, you personally the most, with your sales career?
Ooh, I love this. It's chunking up and chunking down.
Ooh,
So
I haven't heard this one yet.
look at it as, getting more specific when you've hit a roadblock and how to retrace your steps to get to the right place. Because a lot of times we'll be asking questions and the questions might not be super direct or it might not be in a language that the person you're on the phone with understands clearly.
Mm,
So being able to pick up the language across the way to know that, okay, I'm asking this one question. On the fifth question should be to, for example, like a basic human need, like certainty. They're going to need certainty at some point in their life and their business. That's why they're coming to me. If it gets derailed, recognizing where that got off track and then being able to start over without asking them the same questions again. Because then people also get frustrated if you ask a question, say at minute 8, and then you come back and you ask that same question at minute 12. They're
yeah,
going to think it's something wrong. They're going to think that they're not speaking clearly or that they're not able to communicate what they understand. I found it just puts negative energy into the conversation. It
yeah,
makes the space less safe.
got it.
So then getting super specific, knowing that at the end point, one of these things needs to happen. And if it doesn't, then I'll chunk back up in a different way and get into alignment with what they're saying and how they're thinking consciously, subconsciously. So that way it leads to a point that they can attach to be like, okay, this is what I need. This is
Okay.
what this is representing for me.
Got it. Chunk up, chunk down. There you have it. That was awesome.
Yeah.
On the breath side, do you breathe like before the call or like or is there certain like pattern or prep before a call or like yeah, what's the one thing that you learned about breath that translated into your sales career?
Yes. So understanding the physiology behind different breath types. So before the call, I do a breath pattern to get me excited, to get my energy up, to make sure that I'm safe in my energy, regardless of what happens on the call. Because a lot of these, sales calls, people are saying stuff, and you can't sympathize with them.
Yeah.
You can be empathetic, but if you go into the point and have sympathy, you're just like everybody else, and they're going to start associating you with that.
Mm.
And a lot of times during a call, like when I feel the language getting short, getting choppy, when I can see that they're not breathing, we'll just stop the conversation, take a deep breath in, a forceful exhale out, like as long as they can, which will reset and energize your nervous system. So it
Mm.
brings you to a calm place, and then start the conversation from there.
That's cool,
So
man. Right on.
yeah.
Breath is a powerful thing. I don't know too much about it other than that I do it to some magnitude every day. But there was one breathing exercise that I was a part of, and not to get too lost on that story, but it was a really impactful experience. I was like, it's just breath. Like I might need to pay attention to this a little bit more for
Oh
multiple
yeah.
aspects of life. So that's awesome. You've been leveling up. So you help people on sales calls and doing the follow up. Why help people with this? How'd you get into it?
Yeah. I've been selling my entire career. So working in gyms, selling PT, managing opening gyms, things like that. And then when I was in a coaching program, the owner of the program reached out. I was like, hey, I'd love the way you do this. Like, would you want to come sell? I'm thinking about doing this launch. It was Online Coach Accelerator by Rachel Bell. She ended up retiring. We sold really well there. And
Sweet.
and we went out to this house in San Diego. It was like the real world scenario. So we were there just for a launch for 30 days. We had
Okay.
cooks, chefs, housekeeper, everything, and we were just focused on selling. And I realized, oh, one, this is needed, and two, that I realized a lot of things that I was doing, not everybody else was doing, and I was getting a really good result. Having fun on these calls is my number one thing, and just having a good time, not being burnt out after doing 6, 8 calls a day, 6 days a week for 30
Yeah.
days. And being able to step out of that and be like, wow, you know what? It was hard work, but it was also a lot of fun.
Cool.
And I realized most coaches who especially are selling their own program, when they're either not closing or not charging enough, they're lost in the entire process. So they
Mm.
might do good at certain parts, but usually when it comes to the close, where it comes to the commitment, the groundwork before that hasn't been laid to where it feels good to be like, you know what, you have to do this.
Yeah.
Like this investment, are you in? Let's do it. Let's talk about it. And taking that, that it has to be super structured and it has to be, laid out and you have to say word by word. Like, no, when people are ready to say yes to you.
Yeah. It's
So
true.
give them what they want.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So, what? Talk us through some of the frameworks that's been helpful for you. You mentioned, getting we can get to the end, and then it's not quite the right timing, or there's kind of that pressure feeling. But you're saying that if the groundwork or the framework is laid properly before, then when someone's like ready to say yes. How do you get people to that place naturally?
Yes. So we'll just walk through the process. So first is rapport, and I don't like to put a time limit on that at all because There's going to be some people where the longer you spend there, you'll get, 20 minutes in, they're like, okay, cool. Like, I already read through your stuff. I'm ready. I just want to see if we can get
It's so
along.
true.
After
Oh,
so
okay.
much. And I'm like,
Yeah,
cool. All right. So you know everything. So, being in the rapport stage until your client feels ready to move on. And they'll tell you, like, you're going through, be like, all right, cool. Like, what do you have to say? Like, what are we talking about today? Setting a strong framework, just letting them know, hey, this call, the decision you're going to make at the end is whether or not us working together is going to help you more than trying it out on your own. And then throughout each step, of course, getting where they're at currently, what they want to do, and then what's stopping them from making it happen.
yeah,
So those are the only three questions. And with each of those, having an emotional and a logical reason attached to each of that.
nice. Yeah,
So
very strong.
at that point, now you've covered everything. You know why they want it and how it's going to make them feel. Entirety of each step of the process. And then from that point, now it's just asking them, hey, do you trust my process 100%? Do you believe that you're going to get results 100%? They say
Yeah,
yes, boom, that's it. And now drilling that in and knowing that foundation, now when you create your script or you have things and questions that you want to ask, even if you get lost, it's really simple to realize, oh, okay, where am I at? Am I at their current situation, their vision, their challenge? Do I have an emotional and a logical piece for each of those? If not, you got to go back and get it before you go to the close, because one of those pieces missing, that's going to cause confusion. They're not going to see clearly the path, the solution, their pains, where they're at now, and they're ultimately going to say no.
yeah, yep. Energy's not set right, the reason, emotional and logical reasons aren't set right,
Yeah.
and no decision. This is great. So we talked through a couple things in terms of creating a certain environment, a safe environment, and then we talked through some frameworks of how to help guide somebody to a decision essentially. A lot of value there. Appreciate it. Hey, before we get to the last question, if people are leaning in, they're like, this Nik guy's pretty cool, like that sweatband is on point. Where's the best place to find you, man, or reach out to you?
Yes, right as it says on here, reach out to me on IG, slide in the DMs. My door is always open. Just Nik Reese, say, hey, I saw you on the FlowChat interview. I'd love to connect.
There you go. You can reach out to Nik there. Here's the thing that I like to ask at the end of each interview. It's essentially why. Why do you do what you do? I'll give you a second to think. Here's why I ask this question. What fascinates me personally are athletes, entrepreneurs, musicians, artists of any kind, people that put their art out there in their medium, in their way, right? It's a really vulnerable place to do it because it's
Yeah,
guaranteed that everyone is going to have all different types of opinions and reactions to what is your
exactly.
baby.
Exactly.
And it's hard to be it's hard, and I don't even think it's the best idea to be fully disconnected from that. So managing all that and then choosing to go do it again and again and continue to go down that path, the type of person that it takes to persevere and pursue that is interesting to me. And so I put you in that bucket. Why offer a program and a service and put yourself out there to serve others? What drives you, Nik?
Yes, there's two parts to that. The first part is my selfless reason. I was working 70, 80 hours a week. We ended up getting a puppy, and I was never home for the puppy.
Mm,
We wanted to start a family, and now we're in the position we can do that. And I realize if we keep going the way I'm at and what I do for work, I'm not going to be there for our kids. And I want to be involved in everything. I don't want to miss anything at all. And being in the online space gives people that freedom. Like if I can show somebody how to connect with their higher self, if I can show them how to guide their clients in a safe space, it's going to give them the same freedom that I wanted. And then they'll share that gift because then they're getting clients and there's something in their life that their clients are struggling with that now they're going to be able to help. So it's that entire reason of freedom, not being locked and knowing that you have a choice. We all have a choice. You can stay in the same if you want to do it, or you can go bigger, as big as you want. And there's really no excuses for it. So that's my selfless reason. My selfish reason, I lost my parents when I was really young. I was in 12th grade and no, I was 12 years old and 17 years old. And after that, once I lost my dad when I was 17, it's not a sad story. Like, I found a place to live. Like, my aunts took me in. I was working, I was playing sports and all that. I
Man, I
needed to
still
be
think
in.
that's pretty sad.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean,
dude, that sounds like, whew. Yeah,
it
man.
is. It was. That's also part of the reason why I do NLP and breath work, is to be able to manage those emotions and do
Mm,
all of those things. And I realized that they taught me so much that most people wouldn't learn in a lifetime. They taught me
mm,
in such a short period of time. And the gifts that they shared at me, their drive, their dedication to everything they did. My dad was a correctional officer, and he walked like 6 to 7 miles one way because we didn't have a car. So he walked to work doing 12-hour shifts, 4 to 6 days a week. So that drive has me. My goal is to buy Vail Resorts. It's at $9.6 billion valuated right now. And then from that, all the ski resorts they have, I'm going to name a lift after my parents. Their names were Rose and Mingo. So I want to put their names on every lift all over the world so that people will never forget who they were and how powerful they were for the time they were here. So that's
wow,
my
man.
selfish. I don't want anybody to ever forget them. So
Yeah.
that's why that's what's driving me to make sure it's there. Because if your name's on a ski lift, it's not going anywhere. It's there forever, all over the world.
Dude, worldwide, that is an amazing story. I really appreciate you sharing it. I'm so glad I asked you,
Yes, I'm pumped
so that
too.
I and others got to hear that, man. That's very, very powerful. I can feel how connected you are to it. Thanks for coming out and spending some time with us today.
Yes, thanks for having me. Thank you guys so much. You've literally changed my life and countless others I know for a fact.
And thank you all for watching today as well. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your attention. We don't take it lightly. That's why we bring real entrepreneurs that are actually getting real results for real people in the marketplace. Entrepreneurship can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. And this is the place where we get to rally together and talk about all the fun, nerdy, and challenging up and down things that we go along doing this journey together. So appreciate you. We'll be back with more awesome entrepreneurs. We'll see you next time. Take care.